ready to ditch the 9 to 5 grind. Trade those spreadsheets for sunsets, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, today we're diving into early retirement.
Early retirement.
Specifically, what it takes to make 55 that magic number.
Oh, 55.
We've got your notes and a stack of articles.
A stack.
So buckle up, because we're breaking down what it really takes to make this dream a reality.
So we're separating wishful thinking from a rock-solid plan.
Exactly.
By the end of this, you'll have the knowledge to decide if this dream lines up with your reality.
And we're not just throwing out generic advice here.
No.
We are going deep into your notes
Deep.
and a stack of articles, pulling out the juiciest bits
Okay.
to help you build that early retirement roadmap.
Let's be real. Retiring at 55, it's not about winning the lottery.
Right.
It's about making your money work harder.
Yeah.
And last longer than the traditional retirement timeline.
Which brings us to the golden question. Can you actually retire at 55?
So the short answer, yes, it's possible, but.
Okay.
And this is a big but.
Big but.
It requires a different approach than retiring at, let's say, 65 or 70.
Okay.
Think of it like building a house, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't use the same blueprint for, like, a cozy cabin as you would for a sprawling mansion, would you?
That's a great analogy.
Is it a good one?
Yeah. So what are some key differences then in the blueprint, so to speak, for retiring at 55?
Well, one of the biggest is Social Security.
Okay.
Many people envision it as, this magical fund they can tap into at 55.
Right.
But the reality is the earliest you can actually start collecting is 62.
Okay.
And even then, you're going to receive a reduced benefit.
Oh, okay. So retiring at 55 means potentially bridging a decade-long income gap before those government checks start rolling in.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure, right.
But that's where understanding what we call the time value of money becomes super crucial.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Every dollar you withdraw from your savings early is a dollar that is not growing for you in the market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity for compound interest to really work its magic.
That's a good point. It's like choosing to eat the seeds of a fruit
Okay.
instead of planting them and letting them grow into a whole new tree.
That's a good one.
You're missing out on potential future growth.
Exactly. Speaking of future growth, let's talk about those retirement accounts we all have.
Yeah.
The 401k,
Yeah.
the IRAs, they seem like, tempting piggy banks to crack open when you're really craving that early retirement.
Right.
But there are rules and potential penalties.
It's not as simple as saying, I'm 55, give me my money.
Not quite. There's this thing called the rule of 55,
Okay.
which, let's be honest, sounds a lot cooler than it actually is in practice.
Right.
This rule can be helpful if you're leaving your current job at 55.
So current job.
Yes, your current job. It allows you to withdraw from that specific 401k without the penalty.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
There's always a catch, right?
It only applies to your current employer's plan.
Okay.
If you have, let's say, old 401ks from previous jobs, those are still subject to the regular early withdrawal penalties until you hit 59 and a half.
So it's like having a key that only unlocks one specific door, even though it looks like it should work on all of them?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on traditional IRAs.
Okay.
They also come with penalties for withdrawals before 59.5.
Oh, wow.
Now, Roth IRAs,
Okay.
those offer a bit more flexibility in this regard.
Okay.
But you'll definitely want to understand the ins and outs before making any moves.
Okay, so we've covered Social Security and then the potential pitfalls of early withdrawals from retirement accounts.
Right.
But let's put it down to the nitty-gritty. What's the magic number? How much do you actually need to retire at 55?
This is where things get really personal.
Okay.
It's not a one-size-fits-all number.
Right.
The amount you need depends entirely on your desired lifestyle.
Right. Retiring to a beach bungalow in Bali and volunteering at a local animal shelter is a different financial ballgame than, say, traveling the world first class and collecting vintage sports cars.
You got it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But let's talk about a general guideline.
Okay.
A common rule of thumb you'll hear is having 7 times your annual income saved by 55.
Okay.
So if you're making, let's say, $80,000 a year, you'd be aiming for around $560,000 in savings.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty hefty chunk of change.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But remember, this is just a starting point.
Okay.
Some people might need more, some might need less.
Right.
It all comes down to individual factors, like your spending habits,
Right.
where you plan to live,
Right.
your health,
Right.
and your overall retirement goals.
Yeah. So it's not just about hitting that magic number. It's about understanding what that number actually represents for your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of understanding what it represents, let's talk about a cost that often gets overlooked in the excitement of early retirement planning: healthcare.
Yeah.
Because while you might be ready to ditch the daily grind at 55, Medicare isn't quite as eager to welcome you with open arms.
Yes. Healthcare, the often forgotten elephant in the room.
Exactly. You're not eligible for Medicare until you hit 65,
Oh, right. Right.
which means you'll need to find alternative coverage for that 10-year gap.
And those alternatives can come with a pretty hefty price tag, right?
They absolutely can. We're talking about options like Cobra, the healthcare marketplace,
Yeah.
even potentially joining a spouse's plan if you're married.
Right.
Each comes with its own set of costs, benefits, and considerations.
It's like navigating a whole new world of healthcare options just when you thought you were done with paperwork and decision fatigue.
You said it.
So navigating healthcare options, definitely something to factor into the early retirement equation.
Sure.
It's a cost that can really sneak up on you if you're not prepared.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about what this actually looks like for individuals.
Okay.
Let's put some faces to these financial scenarios, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, say we have a listener. Let's call her Sarah.
Sarah. Okay.
Sarah is 53, earns a comfortable $80,000 a year,
Comfortable.
and is itching to retire at 55.
Okay.
She's been diligently saving and has around $400,000 socked away in her 401k.
Okay.
What's her first step?
Well, first of all, kudos to Sarah for being proactive.
Right.
She's already thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And taking those concrete steps toward her goal, so that's huge.
Right.
But remember that 7 times your income guideline we talked about.
Yes.
For Sarah to hit that $560,000 target in 2 years, she's going to need to get a little creative.
Right, like maybe exploring a side hustle she enjoys or finding ways to boost her savings rate even further.
Yeah, exactly.
But beyond just accumulating more, it's about making that money last once she hits her early retirement.
Exactly. And that's where really understanding her spending habits and retirement vision is super crucial.
Right.
Will Sarah be, jet setting around the globe
Right.
or embracing a more minimalist lifestyle?
Right.
Will she be downsizing her home or staying put? These choices, they all factor into how long her savings will actually need to last.
It's about creating a realistic budget.
For sure.
Not just for the first year or two of early retirement, but for the long
A
haul.
long game, yeah.
And speaking of the long haul, let's circle back to healthcare for a moment.
Okay.
Sarah will need to bridge that 10-year gap before Medicare eligibility.
Right.
What are some options she can explore?
Right. We don't want to sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
Healthcare is a significant consideration,
it is.
especially for early retirees.
Right.
For Sarah, continuing her current employer's plan through Cobra,
Okay.
that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But it could be really pricey since she would then be responsible for that full premium cost.
And those costs can be eye-watering compared to what you're used to paying while employed.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Another option for Sarah is the healthcare marketplace.
Okay. Yeah.
She can explore various plans and potentially find one that fits both her needs and budget.
Right. And it's worth noting that marketplace plans have changed quite a bit in recent years,
They have.
with more options and subsidies available than ever before.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah.
And hey, if Sarah's married,
Right.
her spouse's plan might be another avenue to consider, especially if it offers more comprehensive coverage
Okay.
or maybe even a lower cost than the individual options.
It's like having a backup plan within a backup plan.
Exactly.
Always good to have options.
Always.
But while we're on the topic of long-term planning,
Yes.
there's another crucial aspect Sarah shouldn't overlook.
Okay.
Long-term care. It's not the most pleasant thing to think about, but it's a reality we all face as we age.
Absolutely. And it's especially important to factor into early retirement planning.
Yeah.
For someone like Sarah, who might be retired for, several decades,
Right.
the possibility of needing long-term care down the line is very real.
So what are some steps Sarah can take to address this?
Well, she could consider long-term care insurance.
Okay.
It's designed specifically for these types of situations, covering costs associated with, let's say, assisted living, in-home care,
Right.
and other support services.
But it's important to note that long-term care insurance can be expensive,
Yeah.
especially if you wait until you're older and potentially have pre-existing health conditions.
Exactly. Another option is self-insuring, essentially setting aside a portion of your savings specifically for those potential long-term care needs.
It's like having a dedicated just-in-case fund.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, for future healthcare expenses.
For sure.
But let's move on to a different scenario.
Okay.
Let's say we have a listener named John.
John, okay.
He's in his early 40s, already dreaming of retiring at 55.
Good for John.
What advice would you give him?
John, my friend, you are in a fantastic position.
Yeah.
The beauty of starting early is that you have time on your side,
Right.
which is like having a secret weapon in the world of investing.
Because the earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow exponentially through the power of compound interest.
That's it. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill.
Right.
The further it rolls, the bigger it gets.
Yeah.
That's compound interest in action.
I like that.
My advice to John would be to make saving a consistent habit, even if it starts with small amounts.
Right. It's like planting those seeds we talked about earlier.
Yeah, seeds, yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Learn a small seed can grow into a mighty tree given enough time and care.
For sure,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And just like you wouldn't plant all your seeds in the same spot,
Right.
John shouldn't put all of his eggs in one basket when it comes to investing.
Okay.
Diversification is key.
Right. Spreading your investments across different asset classes helps mitigate risk and can lead to more consistent returns over time.
Absolutely.
It's like having a well-balanced breakfast.
Yeah.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, sets you up for a successful day.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of setting yourself up for success,
Yeah.
John might also want to explore side hustles or passive income streams to accelerate his savings goals.
Because the more income streams you have flowing in,
Right.
the faster you can build that retirement nest egg.
Exactly.
Right.
And let's not forget about seeking professional guidance.
Yes.
Working with a financial advisor who understands the nuances of early retirement
Yeah.
can be incredibly valuable.
Right.
They can help John create that personalized plan,
Yeah.
navigate complex financial products,
Yeah.
and really stay on track to reach his goals.
It's like having a personal trainer, but for your finances.
There you go.
They'll push you, they'll guide you, and they'll help you stay accountable.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, let's switch gears one last time.
Okay.
We have a listener, Maria.
Maria, okay.
She's 58, feeling a little burnt out,
Oh, yeah.
and wondering if retiring at 55 is still a possibility for her.
Maria, we hear you.
Yeah.
It sounds like you are craving a change of pace.
Yeah,
And it's never too late to start planning for a more fulfilling future.
that's right.
While retiring at 55 might be a bit of a stretch at this point, it's not necessarily off the table.
Right.
It might just require some adjustments and some creative strategizing.
Exactly. For Maria, the first step is really a realistic assessment of her current financial picture.
Okay.
How much has she saved?
Right.
What are her essential expenses?
Right.
Can she bridge the gap between now and her desired retirement age without, incurring those substantial penalties for early withdrawals?
Right. It's like fitting together a puzzle, right?
Yeah, like a puzzle.
You might need to try a few different pieces before you find the perfect fit for your retirement picture.
Exactly. Exactly. For someone like Maria, who's a bit closer to retirement age, it's about finding that sweet spot where her financial reality, aligns with her ideal lifestyle.
Right.
And remember, retiring at 55
Yeah.
doesn't have to mean completely stepping away from work.
Right. It could mean transitioning to part-time work, consulting, or even starting like that passion project she's always dreamed of.
Absolutely. It's about designing a retirement that brings joy and fulfillment,
Right.
not just, financial security.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means thinking outside that traditional retirement box.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
I think we have.
From like the nitty-gritty of Social Security and early withdrawal penalties to the more nuanced aspects of, lifestyle design and long-term care planning.
We really have.
We've explored different scenarios from those just starting their early retirement journey to those hoping to make it happen in a few short years.
We've covered it all.
And the key takeaway here, I think, is that early retirement, especially at 55, it requires careful planning, a realistic assessment of your finances,
They're sure.
and a willingness to be, flexible and adapt along the way.
Because, as we've seen, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
It's about finding what aligns best with your, unique circumstances.
Your goals, your aspirations.
Exactly. And that's,
Yeah.
that's where seeking guidance from a financial advisor
Right.
can be so valuable.
Right.
They can provide that personalized advice, help you navigate all the complexities of retirement planning,
Right.
and really just act as your trusted partner on this journey toward financial freedom.
They're like that experienced Sherpa who guides you up the mountain.
Oh, I like that.
helping you navigate the tricky terrain and reach the summit safely.
That's a good one.
Right.
They bring the knowledge and the expertise to really help you make those informed decisions, avoid those costly mistakes.
Exactly. So for those listening who feel that spark of early retirement calling to them,
Yeah,
don't ignore it.
don't ignore it.
Embrace it. Start planning, exploring your options, and building that foundation for a future that excites you.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to make those dreams a reality.
We've given you a lot to digest today.
We have.
But remember, this is just the beginning of the
The
conversation.
beginning.
Keep learning, keep asking those questions, and most importantly, keep dreaming big.
Because retirement, regardless of when it happens, should be something you look forward to, not something you simply endure.
Right.
It's about embracing those new possibilities,
Yes.
pursuing your passions,
Yes.
and living life on your own terms.
We've reached the summit of our deep dive today.
We have.
But remember,
Yeah.
the journey to early retirement is an ongoing adventure.
It is. It is.
So keep exploring, keep learning.
Until next time, happy planning.
Happy planning.